Hello from Lisbon, Portugal. My name is Nuno Torres, and I am with my colleagues Ruth Muchacho and Rita Gracio, who are co-authors of this paper. The title is Unforgettable Experiences, the Art of Digital Storytelling for Museum Audiences. It is divided in 5 parts. The first part is dedicated to experience, and we use the ideas of John Dewey, the American philosopher, polymath, psychologist, who wrote extensively about experience and experience in the museum. He inherited from Darwin the idea of nature as a complex congeries of changing transactional processes without fixed ends. Experience means the undergoing and doing of organisms in environments, a matter of functions and habits, of active adjustments and readjustments, of coordinations and activities, rather than of states of consciousness. Experience is processual, transactional, and very importantly, socially mediated. Applying this idea to museums, Dewey wrote, when artistic objects are separated from both conditions of origin and operation in experience, art is remitted to a separate realm, where it is cut off from that association with the materials and aims of every other form of human effort, undergoing, and achievement. Significance resides in the consequences that flow from the distinctive patterns of human association. And this idea of human association will be a leitmotif in this presentation. According to Dewey, museums should be places where visitors enjoy a pleasurable experience to fully appreciate the aesthetic quality of art objects. Museums need to break an invisible wall between the art seeker and the artistic object in its remote pedestal and the human effort that went into its achievement. This signifying connection should be experienced by the viewer. He wrote this back in 1934. Second part, the quintessence of museums. We are now facing a new era, the era after COVID. Before, museums were expressing challenges in today's leisure-intensive societies, with abundant cultural offers and entertainment brands all competing for time, attention, distraction in and out of home. Today, exactly the same happens, but mostly in the home. So the museums today, the challenge for museums is to bring back the visitor to the museum. In any case, COVID led to the discovery of online to communicate with the stay-at-home audiences. Research made by NEMO in April showed that more than 60% of the museums have increased their online presence since they were closed. More than 30% have changed staff tests to online activities, while 13% have added resources. But this move to online has faced criticism. The critique stems from the idea that physicality is the quintessence of museums, not online. The museum space and the museum space and the exhibits loses online the quintessence of their quality, which is their physicality. Online exhibitions lack a stumble upon nature, are easy to tune out, concentration is weaker. Exhibitions are replicas, not originals. And websites are oversimplified, designed to be experienced on a smaller medium, a plane that is probably smaller than the size of a microwave door. Online is a weak link. It does not provide physicality. With COVID, what really changed is the understanding of the key role of digital for brand communications, for augmenting reach, scope, engagement, but this engagement is evanescent, is weak. Audiences tell us they like technology in the museum. Our ongoing project, Museum, about the branding and marketing of the Sea Museums of Portugal, We have made several audience surveys, and this shows that visitors expect new technologies in museums to enhance the visit. They do enjoy having access to multimedia and interactive content. And visitors expressed very high levels of satisfaction. However, touchscreens are now forbidden by law. Fourth part, we have identified 6 levels of the visitor journey experience. Level 1 is the physicality of space and objects. Going to the museum is an intentional act, that is physical investment. It forces a kind of awareness informed by the surroundings. There is heightened concentration, and the surroundings are crafted to influence the visitor experience, to encourage curiosity, spark investigation, and inspire connection. Second level, the design of the visitor with the experience. Designing is an enabling discipline to develop participatory experiences that engage the visitor with the artistic object. According to Dewey, the idea is to create distinctive patterns of human association. And that's what we are going to do with the process design. Design establishes crucial touch points and defines the visitor journey in the museum. It is today a crucial step to develop a new dynamic between museums and their audiences to create engagement and resonance. Level 3 is the permanent collection itself. The stories that are often displaced by blockbuster shows will not be given the spotlight. The objective is to develop clever storytelling around the permanent collection. Level 4, physicality may be enhanced by digital storytelling. Certain digital tools may in fact increase the physical connection through storytelling. During the last decade, a distinctive move forward into a fresh phase of digital narratology developed. To revisit the relationship between narrative theory and digital technology, to explicitly ground that relationship in a range of contextually oriented perspectives. Level 5, which technologies? And we opt for familiar digital technologies. According to Dewey, pleasure must be attained if the object is explained to the viewer. And according to McLuhan, another inspiration, all media are active metaphors in their power to translate experience into new forms. This idea came to full fruition with the advent of digital technologies. And which is the obvious technology to bring, whose familiarity is universal, the smartphone. And we apply here the Rogers theory on the diffusion of innovations. The smartphones offers relative advantage in relationship to what existed before, compatibility, easy complexity, triability, and observability. It is easy to use, ubiquitous, cost-effective, integrates text, image, sound, offers pleasurable experience that engage with the art object, displays content-rich digital media narratives that can be seamlessly enmeshed in the tour, uses an ubiquitous distribution network, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It is respectful of social distancing. And another tool is the QR code that is seeing a rebirth. When the QR code image is scanned, it is read with the help of a smartphone app. The image can be coded to redirect a customer or a visitor to a website. QR codes allow information including print display, posters, video interactivity, and much more can be featured on the printed page or in a video. Level 6, and last one, the multidisciplinary team. The new paradigm demands highly specialized skills, a lot of them, to exploit a growing body of museological knowledge. We need process design to efficiently apply communications technologies, the production of actionable digital narratives, and new practices in strategic management that has this all into consideration. So summing up, the visitor experience can be developed as follows: process and experience design, journeys, targeted touch points, the QR codes, associated objects, events in and out of the museum, text-based storytelling, not sound. This is not an audio guide, and familiar personal digital devices, that is the smartphone. We have been experimenting at the Lisbon Maritime Museum, also known as the Navy Museum. And this museum is the largest in area in Portugal. It is housed in one of the wings of the Hieronymite monastery in Lisbon. And it occupies a very large area in 2 floors in this place. The Hieronymites monastery, the church is here and the monastery is here. And this is the pavilion that houses the barges. For the commemoration of the 500 years of Magellan's adventure, we are developing a visitor journey. This project was interrupted by the COVID pandemic. We have selected 13 targeted touch points or objects and established the journey to tell the Magellan story. Each object of the journey is color identified and has a QR code. Automatic download to the smartphone happens of 30 to 45 seconds narratives supported by still, moving images, and very short texts. This is the entrance of the museum. You can see our poster here for the survey that we made in this museum, and that in the background, this large map with the routes followed by the Portuguese discoverers, and which is very popular. But all these ships, these boats, they are still. So what we did was, or we will do, we will put a QR code next to it, and people will be able to see, among other things, this digital animation made by one of the students at our university. Of course, this does not depict all the voyages. It only gives an idea of the scope and length and the places where these explorers touched the Earth. And one of them that we are seeing here, and that stopped in these islands in the Philippines, was Magellan, who was killed there. So the QR code, and here we have another historical sculpture. This was in one of the boats of the Vasco da Gama fleet that went to discover the maritime sea route to India. And it is behind the vitrine and you cannot get very close to it. But if you get closer, you will get this. And this can be made through the smartphone. And besides, we can add a lot of other information about the caravels and arms and navigation tools, etc. And the same applies to Magellan himself. There is a picture of him in the museum, and we can show other pictures of Magellan, and we can tell his whole story through these 13 objects through a journey in the museum. Here is now the ship used by Magellan. And here we have a replica in Vila do Conde in North Portugal. And we have this true replica of the Victoria that was used by Magellan and afterwards by Sebastián del Cano to reach Seville, and which is in Spain. Maps will be used extensively, old maps, because the museum has a very large collection of maps, and other items like coins, which was the true objective of the Magellan voyage, was to become rich. And this is the end of my presentation. Experience is what you have on when all the content is gone. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.